Hi, and welcome to episode 106. And today I wanted to talk about how we can align our company purpose with our business strategy to drive growth. Now, when I talk about company purpose, to some people that can feel like a big business task. Coming up with a purpose statement and values for the business can feel like, we're a small, medium-sized businesses, we don't need that. But I would actually like you to explore that idea through this episode because I believe that coming up with a purpose and values for your business is one of the most important tasks that you can do. And I'll be honest, it is also one of the most difficult. And I'll give you some examples and also some steps to get started today because it is a very deep thinking activity and not something that can be done quickly or taken lightly. So I worked with a retail business and it was really successful, but the owners didn't have a defined purpose or values. And they came to a crossroad, and it was, do we continue to grow the business and get more stores and potentially take this business nationally? Or do we keep the current stores that we have, which we've got good growth on, continue to grow our online business? And then basically, the next 10 years, we're probably going to retire. So we can do that quite comfortably and then sell the business and someone else can do the rest of the growth. And without that clear, agreed purpose across those owners, this was a pretty impossible strategic decision to make. So we sat down to explore the purpose. And, of course, the first thing that came up was, well, we're here to make money. And although that is important and it's definitely what you want as the outcome of your business, it's not the purpose of your business. It's not why you exist. And this is a really difficult thing to dig deep on. But where we landed with this business as a draft purpose was that they were about making moments of connection. So connections with their employees, connection with their community, but also for their customers. It was about the customers buying products to make moments of connection with their friends and family. And so once you have that clearly articulated purpose, suddenly you are differentiated from everyone else selling the same product. So if my competitor over there is still talking about we are selling widgets and I'm saying we're selling moments of connection, what a difference that makes. It immediately emotionally engages us, which means it also helps to differentiate ourselves in the employment market. We can attract candidates that engage with that purpose. I'm not hiring you because I want you to sell a widget. I'm hiring you because I want you to help us to make moments of connection. So you automatically get candidates who are a better fit with your business. So we talk about culture fit and what does that mean? Well, that's going to give you that fit because you're going to be really clear on what the purpose of the business is, which means they're also going to perform better and they're going to stay longer. And importantly, you get a lens for those strategic decisions. So if we're going to grow the business to the next level, that has a huge financial impact. There are lots of pros and cons there that need to be weighed. But we also need to think about, does our purpose actually lend itself to wanting to do that growth? Well, is it going to enable us to meet our purpose? And so this is how it can really help with those strategic decisions, let alone a branding exercise for our customers and our employees. Now, a couple of bigger businesses that we see that are really clear on their purpose is IKEA. So, they talk about we create a better everyday life for many people. And if you go to their website, they go into this in more detail and they say it goes beyond we're selling stuff for your home. We want to have a positive impact on the world. And that includes from the communities where they get their raw materials right through to how their customers can live a more sustainable life at home. Or you can have a look at Tesco and they talk about every little helps. And they go on to say it's about serving customers, communities and a planet a little better every day. So rather than I'm working at IKEA, it is awesome, I've got these flat packs, I've got excellent furniture in my house, actually we want to create a better everyday life. Or Tesco, we're not selling groceries, What we want to do is actually help everyone a little every day. And, I mentioned before that getting your purpose right is not just for big businesses. I've helped many clients who are small to medium-sized businesses define their purpose and their values. And it does take time and it takes intention. But the other thing to remember is that it doesn't need to be perfect. So even if you get 80 to 90% there, and then over time you can refine it. So at Amplify HR, our purpose is to create workplaces that engage and inspire. So if I'm speaking to a potential client and then I discovered that they're only interested in keeping to the bare minimum required by legislation, then I know that we are not the HR partner for them. They will just end up frustrated because we want to uplift their people and culture. And we will be frustrated because they won't be enacting our suggestions. We won't feel like we're adding value. The same goes for when I hire into our team. So I need people who will align with our purpose and they understand that it informs our decisions as a business. So when I'm looking at things like, should we hold a learning event for our clients? Does it help them to create a better workplace that engages and inspires? If the answer is yes, okay, let's start to look at that. How can we hold those events? Should I have guests on this podcast that will help business owners to grow their business? Well, is it going to enable them to better create a workplace that engages and inspires? And if the answer is yes, and I think that person's got a great topic to talk about, then I'm going to invite them onto the podcast. So our purpose is the reason why our business exists. And then the next level from there is in the values, which is how we achieve that. So we think about the purpose as the why, the values as the how. And I talk about that in more detail in two of our past episodes. So number 8, around faster and better decision making, where I give more examples of purpose statements. And episode 69, the value of values, where I take you through how do you actually get to your values? How do you dig them out and discover what they are? But for today, if you're thinking about, okay, I do need to create or review my purpose statement, how do you get started? The first thing is go back to your origin story. Why did you start the business? Think about, what did you hope to achieve when you did that? Why was it important to you? What are the moments that you've been most proud of in your business? What have you helped others to go on and achieve? And ideally, you have someone else asking you these questions, making notes, synthesizing the information, creating the connections for you. If you don't have the ability to do that, then at least use a transcription software where you're asking yourself the questions, you're speaking them out loud, because then you can go back and have a look at what you wrote. What are the themes? What does that mean? And perhaps you can use some AI to start teasing out those themes and what that looks like for you as well. I hope you've received value from this episode, and I would love it if you could leave a rating or review over Apple Podcasts or Spotify so someone else can also find the episodes to help with their business. These episodes are released regularly, so click the subscribe button and you'll be notified of when it's available. Thank you so much for joining me. If you have any feedback, questions or ideas for future episodes, head on over to amplifyhr.com.au or connect with me on LinkedIn and we can start a conversation.